All right. Are we blue? Am I blue? Oh, that light. We need a curtain. We need a curtain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put this over here. All right, crew, let's get started. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning. Come on over. So, did everybody scan? Did everyone get through their scans already? Raise your hand if you have not scanned yet. Okay, cool. You guys are just going to scan when they are finished up? Okay, great. So we're going to get into things. On your scans, have you guys seen any muscle mass change? Okay, raise your hand if it's gone up. Raise your hand. Okay, fantastic. Raise your hand if it stayed exactly the same. Okay, raise your hand if it's gone down. Just 2 people. So the other people don't have muscle mass?
It just didn't change.
It's a good theory, right? Up, down, the same, or you just don't have any?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Last week would be the start of the cut, yeah.
Okay.
Nice. There you go.
Okay, so now let's talk about the different reasons that your scan would be showing down. Okay, so raise your hand if your scan is showing down on your muscle mass. Okay, cool. So one of the first things, and did you guys talk about the carb thing?
The carb thing.
Last week about carbohydrate intake reducing and then
And
water intake.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys remember from last week, right? When your carbohydrate intake suddenly goes down, maybe because you cut out a bunch of sweets and change the way you're eating, you can have water go down in the body as well. You will be able to see that in your scan. So when you scroll down to the very bottom of your charts, like you guys should have your phones in front of you while we're discussing your in-body scans. If you scroll down to the very bottom of your history, you'll see total body water. And if you have a huge change there, and a huge change is just like 1 liter, that's 2 pounds. 1 liter is 2.2 pounds. So if you have 1 liter change, that's significant in the body, right? And so that can also make your muscle mass appear lighter because now you're carrying around beef jerky instead of juicy steaks. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on muscle mass? No?
Stupid question. Do you want it to go up or down?
What do you want it to do? Do you want more muscle or less?
More.
There you go. There's your answer.
Mine's going the wrong direction.
Can I say something real quick also?
Yeah.
So one other thing, a little aside, but I want you to make sure rather than looking at just your weight, scroll down and look at your muscle mass and your body fat. Right? A lot of you have been looking at just the weight changes. But what we really want is the composition changes. So muscle going up, fat going down. So pay attention to those numbers, not just your weight.
And then pop quiz, what are the 3 things, the 3 conditions that must exist for you to grow muscle mass? Enough protein, not just some protein, right? You can't eat 1 gram of protein a day and expect your muscles to respond. So enough protein, great. What else? Exercise, something that tells the body, hey, you need those muscles, right? There's one other factor, enough calories. Laura, you cheated with all your education. You need to have enough food. If you don't have enough food in your body will just use that protein to fuel you instead of to grow your muscle mass. So you got to have all 3. You got to have exercise, enough protein, and enough food. Make sense? Okay. How about fat change? Anyone's fat go down? Raise your hand. Awesome. Anyone's fat stay the same?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Did it go down? Is that the first?
It went down?
Mine went down.
Good. All right. Whose fat mass has gone down? Raise your hand. Raise it high and proud. Okay. Whose fat mass has stayed exactly the same since their last scan? Okay. Whose fat mass went up since their last scan? Okay. So we need to talk about why that might be. Okay. And that's probably more of an individual conversation about what's going on in your day-to-day. There's various factors that we should discuss. Okay, so those of you who raised your hand with fat mass going up need to talk to a coach immediately.
Can I just make a point about that?
Okay,
About water.
how many of you got in your 5 workouts this week? Raise your hand. Since our last scans. Fantastic. How many of you got in 6 workouts this week? Double fantastic. How many of you got in 4 this week? Okay. 3? Anyone at 3? Okay, so we're at 4 or more. We really want to shoot for those 5 to 6. Okay, but we're doing pretty darn good. That's great.
What if that's outside of the
Yep, that's fine too. If you actually got a workout in, yes. How about 8 hours of sleep a night? Raise your hand. Woohoo! Nice. 7 hours of sleep a night. 7.5. Okay, 7.5. 6 hours of sleep a night. 6?
It goes between 6.5 and 7.5.
Okay. So we've got some improvement to do in those areas, right? Okay. Okay, how many times off plan? You ready? 1 time off plan. I went 1 time off plan. You guys know what off plan means, right? Okay. Good. Wow, that's really off plan. Okay. 2 times off plan. 2 times off plan. Okay. 3 times off plan. So many times off plan you lost count. Okay. All right, cool. And those of you who went off plan, you still got changes? You still got positive changes? Good. Okay. You want to talk that one?
Yeah. So part of this, the whole process, right, is figuring out something that we can maintain and put in work to see long-term changes, right? So when we look at how we want to make those changes and when we want to make those changes, we kind of have 2 options, right? One, we could live like maybe we've been doing, right, where we're choosing easy choices, not really worrying about food, not seeing results. And then the problem with that is most of the time those kind of work up and work against us, so that as we get later in life, life gets harder, right? We stack up health conditions. We get to the end of life, we aren't doing very well, right? And we see the doctors more, and that snowball of things. And so what we're really trying to do, though, is put in the work now and set up the habits now, so that later in life we don't have all those issues, right? We put in the work, we put in the difficult choices or hard choices, as it says here, now, so that as we go to the rest of life, we can rely on all those habits we've made and those healthy choices and coast, right? And thrive as we get to later years and do really well. So that's really what all this is about, is like, let's put in the work now so that as we get older, we don't have to worry, right? We can rely on all these changes we're working on.
The other thing we have to realize in terms of why it's so hard is because there is a lot of things we are working against. We are right now doing something that is outside of normal. When you hang out with your friends and your family, you're the weirdo, right? You're the one who's actually trying to improve your health and your condition. We do it through movement and we do it through nutrition. That's how we do it, right? And you might have other things as well that you do to improve yourself that is outside of normal, but these are the 2 things that we address here. That is a fight against what everyone else is doing, what all the marketing out there and the billions of dollars spent on convincing you to do other things is doing, and all the things you've done in the past, right? All those habits you've established for yourself over the years, maybe since you were a child or once you became a grown-up, you decided, I get donuts every morning because I'm a grown-up, right? Or I don't have a bedtime because I'm a grown-up and I can do whatever I want, right? All of those decisions and habits and things you've been doing over the years, we're now working against those things. We're fighting against them. And so it's kind of like, it's like walking up a down escalator. You have to keep walking because as soon as you hold still, you're going to end up back at the bottom. You have to keep walking. That's the effort it takes. So when we're doing the challenge, we are hoping that you guys are thinking with how to keep walking And you're thinking with, okay, how could I keep doing this even after the meetings, even after the quick cut's over? How could I keep up these things that I'm doing that I know are improving my health, right? And then we have family and friends, the people you hang out with, the people that you adore and love and like to drink with you and like to eat with you. And that is what you do, right? That is like, you're like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my buddy. What are you going to do? You're probably going to go eat something, right? And so you are working against all of those dynamics, all of those things that you have built up over the years. So we really want you to understand this is difficult. We want you to understand the amount of effort necessary because it is a lot of effort. This is not an easy task. And if you go into it thinking it's easy, you will be disappointed because that will not allow you to put in the effort necessary. Does that make sense? Okay. Have you guys experienced that? Yeah. Okay. Good.
The other part with this, right, is right now it may seem like a one-sided tug of war, right, where we're over here trying to say, don't do all that old stuff, right? As this gets more concrete and strong and you're like firm in your foundation, family and friends are going to realize that, right? They're going to, hopefully the goal is they come to this side, right, and they're helping you out. And then their old ways fade away, right, because these are now your new ways. And that tug of war just gets easier.
Yeah,
right?
it really
Fall
does.
back on it.
It's really true. And even family and friends might just give up, stop inviting you to have donuts and start inviting you for a salad or something, They just go, oh, we know, maybe you guys have experienced that where a family member or a friend, they're like, oh yeah, you don't eat like that. So let's go here where you can order some meat and some vegetables instead of going here where all they serve is noodles. Right? Have you guys, anyone experienced that? Where people are actually helping you out now instead of making it a problem for you? So it does happen over time. But you have to stay firm in what you need for yourself, right? It does happen. It does get better. And sometimes they change. And sometimes they change, right? That was what Josh was talking about. They go to your side, right? And now they're wanting the meats and vegetables and lovely foods as well. Okay, great.
So this is just a depiction of as we're making those choices, kind of the benefits of the fruit, the vegetables, the proteins, all of those things. This is from Optimize Me Nutrition, but basically, she's a dietitian.
She's the creator of 800 grams.
800 grams.
Yeah.
But some good depictions here. If we're looking at this and we say, we could look at eating an egg McMuffin. 480 calories, and we really probably don't feel that full afterwards. Or you can eat 810 grams or a full plate of fruits and vegetables. You're getting less calories and so much more from that meal, right? Then we look over here, and it's on our way home from work, and it's like, what do I need that's quick? We could go here, right? But what are we getting there? A bunch of junk, right? Yeah, we have some meat, but then we got the fried foods. We've got everything else that goes with fast food. Or we jump into a grocery store, grab a quick salad kit and some tuna or something like that, put it together. Just as quick, just as cheap, and we have so much more from that, right? And then last depiction here. This is 2 pounds of fruit, 2.2 pounds of fruit on the bottom, and 557 calories versus our muffin, which is 570 calories. And once again, it's like, where are we getting more benefit from? Definitely down in the bottom there. So.
And this is one too that shows why you guys might be feeling like you're eating so much, right? Any of you feel that way? Like, oh my gosh, I'm eating so much. Because before you were used to grabbing a muffin, which you can get down in like 2 seconds, and now you're grabbing a whole entire plate of fruit that takes you an hour to finish, right? So it might feel like you're eating so much because you are eating so much more, but getting so much more from it, right? In terms of nutrients and less from it in terms of calories. Making sense? Yeah? Okay. Some of you might feel like I feel like I'm eating all the time because it takes a while to consume a plate like that. Where, how long does it take you to eat a muffin? So fast you don't even know what happened. It's like, did I have the muffin? Did I leave it somewhere? Right? That was yesterday's muffin, right? Okay. So we are in week 2 of the cut, right? Yeah, because week 1 was last week. It's weird because I missed you guys. So we're in week 2 of the cut. And so we're focusing on getting lots of fruits and vegetables. You guys do not need to be measuring it anymore. You just need to be eating it, lots of it. And then getting your protein. How are you guys doing with the protein? Do you feel like you're keeping up with it? It's not starting to slide away? Anyone feel like it's starting to slip? Not getting enough? Okay. And then your sleep. So some of you guys have some work to do on your sleep. The idea is to get better sleep during this time. So if you're not getting better sleep than you normally get, we need to work on that. We need to figure out how to get you just a little bit more. Okay, see some wheels turning. And then 5 to 6 workouts. You guys as a group are doing fantastic with that. There's a few of you who need to ramp it up, get that 5 or 6, right? We're not going for 4, we're going for 5 or 6. And then keeping up with the do's and don'ts. Is there any questions about the do's and don'ts? Okay, one person had a question. Beef jerky. If it has more fat than protein, is it a do or a don't? Wrong. Beef jerky is meat. Meat is okay to go, even if it has more fat than protein. I'm going to refer back to this right here, which is what our whole challenge is based on, which is eat meat. Eat meat is the first thing it says, and vegetables, and nuts and seeds and fruit. Okay? So if it's a meat, eat it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to assess your steak and check how much fat's there compared to protein. Just eat the steak. Does that make sense? Okay, meat's a go. When do you need to check your labels? Processed food, right? I get it. Beef jerky is processed, but it's also meat. You do need to check your beef jerky and make sure it's meat, right? Like, I suppose there's other things added to some of those things out there. Make sure you're just having beef jerky that is meat. It should just say beef and salt or pepper or whatever, right? That's all it should say on it. If it's got a bunch of other things, then yeah, now you're eating a processed food, right? As opposed to just dehydrated meat. Yeah? Okay. Any questions about that? Yeah.
Dehydrated fruit. There you go.
So you lose the water content, but you keep the fiber. We also tend to be able to eat a lot more if it's dehydrated. It's better to eat the whole thing. It will be better to eat the whole thing. And a lot of the dehydrated stuff in the store also has added sugar to it. So you just have to check it too. Yeah, that's kind of it depends. It depends. Do you want to cover like soup and like mixed ingredients?
So there's been a couple questions or I guess misconceptions. When we're getting something that's packaged at the store, like let's say you go and grab a soup that's in the container, right? What we want to look at for those is making sure that they're all single ingredients, that each ingredient on that list fits into fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and protein, right?
Meat. Meat.
And meat. Yes, meat. Yes. And so just make sure all those ingredients, and there's not all the additives and everything else that goes in there. It should be what you're getting is on plan, even if it's all put together in that one container.
You can, yeah, and it's okay if it has more carbohydrates
Right.
at that point, as long as it's still just meat and vegetables in your soup, or fruit, which would be really weird, or seeds, which would be also really weird.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you go get like a butternut squash soup, right? It's going to have more carbohydrates than it's going to have protein. It's going to have barely any protein. But as long as it's just butternut squash, you're good to go. It could have chicken. It'll probably have like chicken broth or like vegetable stock. That's fine, right? But it's not going to have more protein because you're having a vegetable. You're having a pureed vegetable. Does that make sense? Okay.
A lot of cream added to it.
There can't be any cream added to it, right? It has to,
A lot of butternut would have cream.
the ingredients have to be a fruit, a vegetable, nuts and seeds, or meat when you're talking about like compiled food. Cool? Any other questions? Yes.
How about you overeat on protein, like a lot? Well,
a great question. So when the body consumes more protein than it needs, it will just convert it to another source of energy. It'll convert it to a carbohydrate or to a fat, depending on how much you're consuming. Your body can handle it.
But it can contribute to.
It's not his issue. Yeah. For you, Reuven, knowing your food log, go for it. Eat. Have some protein with a lot of fat on it. It's not your concern. Like you're doing great if you feel like you're eating a lot of meat. Okay. Like a grandma. 90-year-old grandma.
Jim.
Can you go over oils again, olive oil,
Yeah.
garnishing oils, just to
What's a garnishing oil?
kind of like olive oil?
Like a fancy oil?
Just on the side.
Okay. Gotcha. But it's still like olive oil or... Okay. So if it comes from a fruit or a seed, right? Although we want to avoid seed oils, right? But that's not a thing here.
Right.
But if it comes from a fruit,
Eat it.
avocado oil, olive oil, those are fruits, right? Go for it.
What about ghee? No ghee right now?
You can cook with it.
I don't think ghee's the problem, guys. Let's go back to what the problem is, right? It's probably not ghee. Yeah, it's probably cookies. It's probably not ghee. It's probably cake. It's probably ice cream. It's probably not ghee, right? Right. I mean, if you're going to cook with it, if you're going to cook with butter, okay, right? We're trying to keep this really simple by dealing with the problem areas and teaching you how to go hard in the not problem areas, right? These other things like extra fat on your cut of meat probably isn't the issue, right? It's probably not what got you here today. Think about what actually got you to the place where you wanted to change things in your body. It wasn't fatty meat and it wasn't ghee. Make sense? Okay. Any other questions? Comment. Let's hear it. Yeah, that's fantastic. So Carissa was just saying she's less sore. And that's huge, right? Being able to nourish the body after your training, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So she's getting more protein. Any other questions? Great. So I would like to see those of you who raised your hand about your body fat. Let's chat right now. We have 6 minutes before class. Everyone else, make sure you get your scan if you haven't, and we'll see you down there for the workout. I want to actually look at their scans to see what's happening.
Take care, buddy.